They robbed the Usos. They robbed every legitimate tag team on that roster. And the people responsible? A YouTuber who can barely lace up a pair of boots and his buddy The Vision who just became tag team champions. Let that sink in. Tag team champions. I need you to stop what you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you is either the greatest moment in the history of sports entertainment or the most embarrassing thing WWE has ever allowed to happen. And trust me, after everything we've seen, that is saying something. Drop a comment right now. Was this genius booking or an absolute disaster? Because this debate is not going to be civil. The setup building the tension. Let's rewind. Because to truly understand the chaos that unfolded, you need to understand exactly what was at stake and exactly how we got here. The Vision, for those living under a rock, had been on a tear. Week after week, these two had been cutting promos, attacking opponents from behind, interfering in matches, doing everything in their power to put themselves in the conversation for the tag titles. And the WWE Universe? Divided. Half of them loved it. Half of them were furious. But nobody, and I mean nobody, thought it would actually go this far. Then IShowSpeed showed up. Now look, I respect the hustle. I genuinely do. Speed built an empire from his bedroom. Hundreds of millions of subscribers, sold-out appearances, a cultural footprint bigger than most mainstream celebrities. The man is a phenomenon. But a tag team championship match? In a company with Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and generations of tag team wrestling legends? The moment his name was announced as a special enforcer or tag partner, depending on which version of events you believe, the internet melted. My comments section became a war zone. Your comments section probably did too. And we hadn't even gotten to the match yet. The match play-by-play, intensity rising. The night of the match, the arena was electric. You could feel it through the screen. When the Vision's music hit, the crowd was split, some booing, some cheering, because let's be honest, the Vision has that rare magnetic quality where even when you hate them, you can't look away. The champions came out looking confident. They had every right to be. On paper, they were the better team. More experience, more chemistry, more ring time. They looked at the Vision and Speed like they were obstacles, not threats. That was their first mistake. The match started and Speed was immediately thrown into the deep end. Now, and I want to be fair here, he did not look lost. He looked terrified, sure. He looked like a man whose adrenaline was doing things to his body that no pre-workout supplement could replicate. But there was something raw and real about it. The crowd felt it. When he took his first big bump and rolled to the outside, people gasped. Not because it was a great wrestling move, but because this was real. This was a real human being putting their body on the line in a real arena in front of thousands of people, and you could feel every second of it. The Vision, meanwhile, was doing what the Vision does: methodical, calculated, working over the champions with a precision that reminded you why they belong in any conversation about the best in the business right now. The chemistry between Speed and the Vision was, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, actually kind of incredible to watch. Not in a technical sense, but in a drama sense. Every time Speed got tagged in, the crowd held their breath. Every time he fought through the pain and actually landed something, even something simple, the place went insane. And then came the moment. The moment. The finish, pure chaos. The champions had Speed isolated in the corner. They were setting up for their finisher. This was it. The logical conclusion. The reality check. Speed was about to eat the pin, the Vision was going to be powerless to save him, and we'd all go home shaking our heads about what could have been. Except Speed moved. I don't know if it was instinct, luck, divine intervention, or if Vince's ghost whispered something in his ear, but Speed moved. The champion crashed into the corner. Speed stumbled, grabbed the ropes, somehow stayed on his feet, and then did something nobody expected. He screamed. Loud. Visceral. That signature Speed scream that his fans know from 1,000 streams and viral moments. And somehow it fired him up. He hit the ropes. He bounced back. He absolutely leveled the standing champion with a running shoulder tackle that the crowd popped for like it was a stunner. The arena lost its mind. Speed didn't even know what to do, he just screamed again and slapped the mat, feeding off pure chaos energy. That was the opening the Vision needed. The legal man tagged in. The Vision went to work with the kind of efficiency that made you realize the whole match had been a setup. Every moment Speed was getting beaten down was building to this. The Vision hit their signature combination, the champions had nothing left, and then boom. 3 count. 1, 2, 3. New tag team champions. The reaction pouring gasoline on the fire. The internet broke. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Speed was crying. Actual tears streaming down his face in the middle of the ring, holding a championship belt, doing that thing he does where his whole body just can't contain whatever emotion is happening inside him. And look, you can be cynical about it. You can say it's performance. You can say it's content. But when you watched it live, when you saw this kid who built everything from nothing standing in a WWE ring holding gold, there was something genuinely moving about it. I'm not too proud to admit that. But here's where it gets complicated. Here's where the anger comes in. Because the moment the celebration started, the questions started too. Was this legitimate competition? Was this fair to the teams who had been grinding for months for a title shot? What message does this send to every wrestler on that locker room who bled and sacrificed for years to get a fraction of the opportunity that Speed was handed because of his subscriber count? Those are legitimate questions. And the wrestling community, the real ones, the ones who've been watching since they were kids, they were loud about it. The debate throwing the match on the fire. Now I've seen both sides argued everywhere, and I want to lay them out for you because this is genuinely more complex than people are giving it credit for. The pro-booking argument goes like this: WWE is entertainment. It has always been entertainment. Andre the Giant wasn't a legitimate athlete. Lawrence Taylor main event WrestleMania. Mr. T was in the corner of Hulk Hogan at the very first WrestleMania. Celebrity involvement is in WWE's DNA, and if it brings eyes to the product, if it gets people talking, if it grows the audience, then from a business perspective, it works. Speed brought his audience. His fans watched. They subscribed to Peacock, they bought merch, they filled seats, and some of them might stick around and become real wrestling fans. That's how you grow a brand. The counterargument is just as strong. There is a reason championships mean something. There is a reason the Intercontinental title made the honky-tonk man, the reason the tag titles elevated teams like the Hart Foundation and the New Age Outlaws into legends. Prestige is built over time, through sacrifice and consistent storytelling. The moment you put a belt on someone because of their follower count rather than their contribution to the craft, you cheapen everything those titles represent. Every future championship match becomes a little less believable. Every title holder has to fight a little harder to make their reign feel meaningful. Both arguments are right. That's what makes this so infuriating and so fascinating at the same time. Speed's performance honest breakdown. But let's talk about Speed himself for a second, because I think the discourse has been unfair in both directions. The people who are crowning him as some unexpected natural are going too far. He is not a pro wrestler and nobody should pretend he is. But the people calling his performance an embarrassment are also wrong. Speed did what very few people could do in that situation. He managed his physicality intelligently. He didn't try to do too much. He played the underdog babyface role whether by design or by accident perfectly. His bumps were believable. His facial expressions were off the charts. And that moment where he dodged and accidentally took over the match? Regardless of whether it was scripted, it felt organic. It felt like something real happened in real time. And that's the hardest thing to manufacture in professional wrestling. The Vision deserves enormous credit for carrying the narrative of that match. Watch it back with fresh eyes and you'll see how much of the heavy lifting they were doing, keeping the pacing right, feeding Speed his spots, making the champions look credible enough that the win felt earned rather than gifted. That's craftsmanship. That's invisible work that doesn't get nearly enough appreciation. The bigger picture: where does this go? So where does this go from here? That's the question keeping every booking analyst and fan theorist up at night. Because Speed is not going to be a full-time champion. He has a life. He has streams to do, tours to complete, an internet empire to run. The title reign will be transitional by necessity. The question is how it ends and what it builds toward. If WWE is smart, and sometimes they are, sometimes spectacularly so, they use this as rocket fuel. The heels who feel disrespected by this whole situation, they come for Speed and the Vision with a vengeance. They make it personal. They make it ugly. Speed becomes the unlikely underdog champion who the fans genuinely invest in protecting, and the Vision gets to shine as the calculating mastermind keeping the belts through clever maneuvering. Done right, this is a story that writes itself. Done wrong, Speed drops the belt in 3 weeks on a random episode of SmackDown and we all pretend this happened differently than it did. The call to action, the fire outro. So here's what I need from you, Ring Rumble One family. This debate is not over. It is nowhere near over. I've given you my breakdown, I've given you the full picture, now I want yours. Was this the greatest piece of entertainment WWE has produced in years? Or is this the moment the tag team division officially lost all credibility? Comment your answer right now. I'm reading every single one. I'm responding to the best ones. And if you want to fight about it on Twitter, you know where to find me. Share this video. Send it to the person in your life who's going to have the strongest reaction. Tag them. Let them argue in the comments. That's what Ring Rumble 1 is built for. Real reactions, real debates, no corporate softness. If you're new here, subscribe. Because if this video doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what we do here, I don't know what will. We go hard on every video. No fluff. No filler. Just the real conversation that wrestling deserves. And to IShowSpeed, if you somehow see this, you earned it, man. Chaotic, unexpected, and honestly, kind of beautiful. Now please, for the love of everything holy, don't drop that belt to someone who doesn't deserve the moment. Ring Rumble 1. We don't just watch wrestling, we feel it.